Hi again, everyone. Jimmy Roberts. So glad you could join us once more here on The Big Swing. You know, golf is booming. That's not exactly news. As you can read about in our Golf Business Intelligence Brief this week, we're currently on pace to see an increase in U.S. rounds played for a fifth time in 6 years. And as capital chases participation, the business of golf is accelerating at a dizzying pace. That's, of course, the reason we do this show, to talk about the trends and stories and people contributing to golf's bottom line dynamics. Today, unique perspective from a man who makes a living identifying and investing in companies that represent the next wave of growth in golf. Matt Erley is a co-founder of Old Tom Capital. He and his partner Evan Roosevelt will join us here from time to time to talk about where the industry is heading and why. It's truly a case of men putting their money where their mouth is. Matt Erley, welcome for the first time to The Big Swing. Before we get started, I mentioned it a moment ago in the introduction, but why don't you tell us a little bit about Old Tom and how this all came to pass?
Great. Thanks for having me, Jimmy. We're an investment firm, and we maybe had the wild idea to build one that is squarely, narrowly focused in the golf industry. So, you know, my business partner and I, Evan, we felt that golf was in an incredible kind of, upswing. There was so much transformation, so many amazing things happening in golf, and it really wasn't a dedicated, investment firm group that was deploying capital in the space, kind of coming alongside founders, helping them build. We built that. We built Old Tom Capital. I think it's been great timing for us with everything that's happening in golf. But, a lot of investment firms historically are sitting in really, really wide, spaces, right? Software or, technology or whatever it might be. And I think that where investment is going it's going narrow. It's being able to know and understand the space that you're in. And so for us, we wanted to build that in golf because we really believe in the transformation in golf, the opportunity in golf. We're golfers ourselves. We understand the space, and so we set out to build this firm, and it's been a pretty fun and wild ride.
All right, so focused on golf certainly makes sense to us. The number we've been throwing around since we started is that golf is what we figure something like $250 billion a year total global economic impact. Does that sound like it could be right?
Yeah, it's huge. I think most people who have a misunderstanding of golf sort of think about it as in the traditional sense of golf, golf facilities and people buying equipment, and certainly those are pockets. But the influence that golf has, the kind of like periphery of where golf sits, and you think about golf travel, hospitality, the influence it has on local markets, the people who are coming in and playing from an golf entertainment perspective, traditional golf, it's just such a nuanced space, but it is a very, very large, growing and incredibly resilient category. And it certainly, we think, influences up to maybe even more than $250 billion a year.
So now you and Evan have been doing this for about 4 years now, right?
Yeah. Yep, that's right.
Have you seen the market change in that time?
It's changed a lot. We're capital allocators, right? So we're out raising money, deploying that capital on behalf of family offices and institutional investors and angel investors into golf. I think one thing that's been so interesting to see is the amount of money that is now being attracted to golf. And the broader sports investment space has been a really sexy space to invest in. I think what we're seeing with golf is that because more of the dollars that you spoke to are actually moving through and being influenced by the recreational side of the sport, which allows for there to be much more, many more targets to invest in and participate in the upside from. And so we're getting, I think there's a wave of capital that's coming in and interested in golf, because also golf is very stable. I think in upswings or downswings in the market, people are going to play golf. Maybe they're not going to play the same format or have the same membership, but they're going to play. And It's very, it's such a high spending category. It's, we sort of joke, if you're a golfer, you're kind of a golf sicko. There's not really, there's not like a low tier, medium tier, high tier. Kind of when you get into it and you love it. I'm sure I know you're a golf sicko, Jimmy, like I am.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think capital is also paying attention to that, and they're saying, these are consumers that spend a lot. They sort of stick with it, and there's this just resiliency about the space. I think there's also, with AI and with all the talk of, are we going to work less? Are we going to have shorter work weeks? What are the recreational things? How are we going to spend our time? It's the reason why you're seeing people look for more activities where they can get together with others, where they can spend time outside, where they can step away from their computer. And it turns out that golf has sort of always been an amazing version of that. And I think that more and more people across the world are stepping into golf, and we can talk more about, I think, the channels that we're seeing them step into, because there's also this ecosystem now where I don't have to just become a golfer and start playing golf on an 18-hole facility that's very intimidating, most of the time. I can step into it, I can advance through it. So, there's unbelievable changes that are happening, both in the way golf is played, the way the consumer is interacting with golf, the way investors are thinking about golf. And it's all created just a lot of opportunity and upside for everyone involved.
So you field all sorts of phone calls and pitches. Tell me what's got your attention these days in the world of golf and business.
Yeah, golf is really, people think it's very narrow. When you as we talked about earlier, when you actually dig in, and it's very, very nuanced, and there's specific pockets of golf. Golf is always evolving and changing, especially in the last decade. But there's specific pockets that we're looking at. I think the format of golf. What does the format look like over the next decade? We've seen golf entertainment be one of the best front doors for the game. It's I think Topgolf and 5-Iron and all the other golf entertainment simulator type businesses have probably done more to bring people into golf than kind of anything else in the last decade, and we love that. That has also opened up other formats and ways of thinking about golf that are probably less on the traditional side. I think all of these new people who are coming into the game, they're looking around saying, how do I want to play golf? And for us golf sickos, it might be that 18-hole. We're out there for a 4 or 5 hour round, maybe with caddies. I think that version of the game is very is here to stay. It's not being impacted by other formats, but we're really interested in how the supply of the golf course and the golf industry is going to be built over the next decade. So for us, we call that golf light. We call that this golf light category. It's actually one of our investments, Blue Jeans Golf, which is a driving range roll-up business. They termed the coin golf light, which we really love. But it's things like driving ranges. It's short format golf, so par threes, short courses. It's practice facilities. It's Himalayan putting greens. It's these experiences that allow. What I really love and that I'm bullish on is I want people to. I think experiences where you're outside, you're holding a golf club, you're hitting a golf ball into a real environment, but you're doing it in maybe a slightly faster, shorter, more casual way. That for us we have a high belief that that's going to continue to be one of the big changes and shifts and winners in the golf industry over the next 10 years, because we don't have enough par 3 courses. We don't have enough environments where you can just go out and sort of have a 1 hour or 2 hour relaxed, kind of for everybody type experience. I think that also bleeds into the municipal space. There are thousands of municipal courses around the country that are traditional 18-hole facilities, and perhaps as we think about the transformation of those facilities, some of them need to become more golf light facilities, maybe an enhanced driving range with a 12-hole short course that has 2 6-hole loops, so I think that golf light supply category is one that we are really, really excited about, we're bullish on, and we think it cements the growth in golf that's kind of coming into the game, and it also allows us to go out and build and repurpose more supply. So that's probably one of the most exciting pockets.
One of the other things that you and I spoke about when we were chatting a few days ago was agronomy.
Right.
Is just an enormous factor for a number of reasons in terms of where the game is going and what the opportunities might be, right?
I think I told you, Jimmy, I think it's around 2 golf courses in the United States occupy around 2.5 million acres of land. And and globally, I think it's maybe 6 million acres of land. So 2.5 million acres is half the size of Connecticut, right? So of just golf courses, turfed golf courses. So when you think about the macro that's happening in water, water becoming a more scarce resource, and land in general becoming a scarce resource. How do we electricity? How do we spend less? How do we maintain, open spaces? I think golf courses, it's not just about golf. It's not just about conditions for the golfer. It's actually much bigger. It should matter more to all of us. And when you think about even the golf course in your local community or city, they're open spaces. They're beautiful to look at. They're enjoyable to have. And if we lose those, if for some reason, water and these other challenges cause us to need to change or lose those facilities, I think it's bigger than just golfers losing those facilities. It's everyone. And so as investors, because obviously we have to think with a commercial investment hat on, we're really excited about agronomy in the sense that there is unbelievable technology that can be applied to building, maintaining golf courses that are coming into the market now. And so, we have an investment in a company called Terrarad. They build a moisture sensor that is monitoring the moisture below the ground to root depth by just using a sensor that can sit on the back of a primary mower as they go out and mow the course. So they're mapping an entire golf course subterranean moisture. Today, the only way to do that is you go stick a point sensor in the ground and you can measure moisture at that one point, right? Now agronomy teams are going to be able to see what's happening across the entire golf course. So what does that help with? It certainly would allow you to save water, because the way that golf courses operate today, if you have a kind of premier course, you're sort of overwatering, right? You're spraying a lot of water across an entire golf course to maintain green and solid conditions. And so you think about moisture, that's unbelievably important. Or things like, how are we going to shift from more the pesticide space to things like, enzymes and wetting agents and these things that also help us maintain courses without needing chemicals? Or why are we turfing an entire golf course? Like especially par threes are a great example. You can turf a green complex and you can turf a tee box, maybe even have artificial turf on a tee box. If you've ever been out to the Hay at Pebble Beach or some of the short courses that are out there, they're great models for that. But it's another way of thinking about, like, agronomy is the driving force of how we think about building, maintaining courses. And so there's a lot of companies that are building great technology, great tools, or even staffing, like hiring for courses and for teams that are going to maintain. These are 120, 130, 150 acre pieces of land that a small group of people have to maintain. And so we're just very, very excited about the companies building there. And we think that there's a need that can support both for us commercial investing as well as what the golf course needs and what the city needs and how people are thinking about, the environmental challenges of all of that. And so probably like, as an investor, you think oftentimes the best investments come from the least sexy spaces, and the more time I spend in thinking about grass, thinking about the people who are out there, the agronomy teams out there building and maintaining golf courses. It's just a really exciting category.
So another thing that I find kind of amusing is that I wouldn't even say it was a generation ago. I'd say maybe call it 10 or 15 years ago. If you wanted secondhand clubs, the only place that you would ever find them would be in a garage sale. Now there's an entire industry. How vibrant is the secondhand club industry?
Secondhand clubs is growing because the personas of golfers has changed in the sense that it's not just traditional golfers, it's not just the golf sickos, it's not just the ones who are kind of buying clubs in the traditional cycles with the traditional OEMs and brands. Certainly that pocket is very secure, and that's a great industry. But all of these golfers who are coming in a more casual environment, they don't necessarily need to go buy the latest driver, and
they don't need to drop $4,000 if they're just taking up the game.
It's expensive. I think it would be a deterrent if that was the only option for people coming into golf. If the only way to come play golf was that you needed to have that type of budget to be able to do it, and so I think the used club space is going to continue to become really important, and I think the innovation in golf clubs is also important. I mean, you've got great manufacturers who are all building fantastic clubs that I think make golf year over year a little more fun for everybody too. And so I think that it's kind of choose your own adventure. There's a lot of different options now in golf, and that's good in general, is that we have something for everybody.
Let's talk about golf travel. How big a business is that? There are places in the United States, and again, when you and I were talking about this the other day, I mean, you say Myrtle Beach, and Myrtle Beach is just, there's so much golf there. Is that a good business these days?
I think golf travel has been positively impacted by the supply and demand constraints that are happening in the golf industry right now. I mean, if you want to join a private club, good luck, right? I mean, what was $50,000 or $25,000, 10 years ago is now a $250,000 entry point for a private club. They're 5-year wait lists. You want to make a tee time on Saturday morning in your local market at a municipal course or a public access course, good luck. There's people who wait up in the middle of the night to book that 8 a.m. tee time, and all of that.
Legendary stories at Bethpage Black, right? People sleeping in the parking lot.
I mean, I've seen people building crawlers that are going out and trying to book tee times, that right when they open 7 days in advance, and there was a big story in California about that, and they're having to go in and figure out how to stop those from doing it, because then people are reselling tee times. It's like buying tickets, to a Taylor Swift concert. It's like getting a tee time in golf right now at a course that you want to play is challenging. And so I say all of that in the sense, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's great. I think it speaks to, we need to build more supply. That supply probably needs to be more public access supply. 87% of golfers play public golf, not private golf. So we need more public golf courses. We need more places for people to go. But golf travel has been positively impacted by that, because I think more people are now saying, instead of paying the $14,000 in dues every year at the private club, why don't we do 2 trips? Let's go to Myrtle. Let's go to Scottsdale. Let's go down to Streamsong or Bandon Dunes, there's so many great places to travel now. These like destination, public access, public-private type resort destinations. So we have seen that market explode, both in the U.S. as well as Americans going to the British Isles and those people coming to the U.S. And I mean, there's just so much golf travel happening that there's always been a golf travel industry, but I think you're seeing it emerge as even more important, even more valuable. And one of the things we're thinking about and looking at is how do you build the right accommodation layer to support that type of travel? Because when you're going out and traveling with you and your three buddies, or your spouses, and you want to spend time with each other. It's not about playing golf and going back to your hotel room. And I have not seen that there's enough supply in good golf accommodations, travel accommodations. We invested in a company called Birdie Houses. They build purpose-built golf houses, right? Like ensuite bathrooms and a putting green out back, a simulator in the garage, the mini bars filled with golf balls and tees, right? It's like stuff that, but built really well, not kitschy, like a true great golf experience. And they're putting those in places like Pinehurst and Myrtle and Phoenix, adjacent to golf courses that you want to go play. And so I think that there's actually a little bit of an opportunity there in that that kind of purpose-built golf supply for hospitality, and so that's one way that we're leaning a bit more into the travel space. But golf travel is a great time to be in that as an operator, and I think it's just becoming a more enjoyable experience for the traveler to be able to go and have the right places to stay, the right courses to play, and so we're definitely bullish on that space.
Yeah. That gets back to the number that we talked about before, $250 billion. And it isn't necessarily exclusively focused on the equipment or the courses. There's all these adjacent industries that are enjoying the boom or present opportunities, right?
Yeah, I think if golf is doing well, then it supports a much broader economy around it. And so I think that golf is sort of indicative of the health of where things are and where they're going. And so, as investors and as people who are deeply embedded and participating in the industry, we're of the spirit that the more we can bring capital into golf, and the more that capital believes that golf is a great place to invest, and to get behind founders who are building some of those kind of bleeding edge, maybe a little wacky concepts that can become something, or putting that into owner operators of golf courses that are running great businesses, or people who have a local simulator bar and restaurant who are running that as a family operation, or whatever it might be. We think that doing that and making sure that golf is stable, and that we are setting ourselves up for the next decade and 100 years of golf, I think that's really good for a lot of people. And it truly feels like one of the most resilient categories, recreational sports, places that we can actually go play, right? I think that's what I love about golf is if you're a fan of a lot of, or if you love pick a bunch of other sports, it's hard to actually go play and participate in those sports. What typically you are is you're a fan of the professional side, right? Like you watch the NBA, you watch the NHL. Sure, you can go play a pickup basketball game or kick the soccer ball around. But golf, like if you love golf, you're a golfer. You go play it, you experience it. And so I think we need more things like that allow for us to focus on wellness and community and getting outdoors. And so golf is like kind of the perfect version of that. And let's try to peel away some of the things that maybe in the past haven't been great about golf. And there's golf needs to evolve too. Golf needs to reframe at times for the type of consumer that's coming into it. But I think we're doing a good job, and I think the industry's doing a good job. I think that the professional side, the governing bodies, everyone's trying to ensure that golf has a great future, and we're excited to participate in that.
When people think about high performance in golf, they usually focus on the player, but they miss the caddy, a person whose whole role in modern golf is to help make informed decisions in real time. And what's interesting is that role has a lot more in common with business leadership than most people might realize. Whether you're standing over a shot or making a decision in the boardroom, the principles are a lot more similar than they might seem. And there's probably no better lens into that role than Jim Mackay, Bones, someone who spent decades inside the ropes, helping navigate pressure, strategy, and some of the biggest moments in the game.
Navigating complexity, adjusting strategy mid-round. Decision-making on the golf course is never linear. Conditions and situations are always changing, so flexibility and contingency planning is key. You always start with a game plan, but you expect it to evolve. Whether that's wind, course conditions, the leaderboard, or just how the player is performing that day. So instead of trying to control everything, you simplify it. You focus on what's right in front of you, what's the situation, and what's the best decision for this shot. If you've prepared properly, you've already thought through different scenarios, so it's not reactive, it's more about adapting. That ability to be confident in the decision at hand is what separates the good from the great.
You know, everyone can tell you what happened in golf. The Big Swing Golf Business Intelligence Brief tells you why it matters and what's coming next. I'm Jimmy Roberts. Twice a week, our team of reporters and investment professionals delivers original reporting, engaging storytelling, exclusive access, and sharp analysis of the trends reshaping the game.
The people who play golf, they think about golf all the time.
It's essential reading for people who work in and invest in golf, and for those who care about its future. Visit bigswingmedia.news and start your 14-day free trial today. What part of golf or the golf business do you think might be most at risk as it kind of moves along on this trajectory?
Yeah, I think that the traditional golf courses need to evolve in a lot of the things that I mentioned before around how we maintain courses, how we build courses, how we use water on courses. I mean, I'm concerned about golf courses in states like Arizona that rely on the Colorado River watershed that now don't have a lot of access to water in tough years. And so that doesn't mean those courses have to go away. It means they need to think about how they manage those courses and how much water is used. And like I said before, maybe we need to only turf the golf holes themselves and sort of be careful about using water in other places. I think that the private club space is having a great run right now, and but again, even that we need to.
Is that sustainable?
Well, I think it's always just going to fluctuate, right? Like there was a time before this when private clubs were also the hot spot for people wanting to have community, and then it kind of dropped a little bit, and then after COVID it ramped back up. I think it's sustainable if those clubs are ensure that they are building the experience around the people that are coming into those clubs. I think that they're making a lot of money, and but what those people are really looking for oftentimes is they want community, right? It's what we all want. We want somewhere we can go where we know people and we get to spend time with others. I think courses that golf is the thing, it's the only thing, it's the absolute feature. There's lots of, the top 100s and the great courses out there. I think that's understandable that those courses, that golf is the feature. But where I think a lot of the private club space is going is that golf has become a little bit more of the amenity at those environments, and people are looking for other amenities, right? They want places to spend time with their family. They want things to do with their kids. They want to enjoy good food and drinks. They want wellness. They want to go to the gym. And I think that golf, we have this perspective that golf as a feature is not always as strong as golf as an amenity. Like more of these people who are coming into golf are looking at golf as something that they do, but it's not necessarily the only thing that they're there for. They're there to, like golf travel. I think if you're just focused on the golf, you're maybe losing the point. It's about going somewhere and spending time with people and So how do you capture that after the golf round with the accommodations? How do you make that experience? What are other things you're going to do on that trip? Is it all going to be golf, or is it, not every golf group is going to Bandon Dunes and spending 4 days and playing 7 rounds of golf and sort of barely making it to bed and waking up early in the morning. Like there's a group of golf sickos that do that, but I think that the broader golf industry should also think about what are these other people looking for, and how do I make golf an amenity to that experience, not just the core feature. So we may have gotten a little bit, the industry may have gotten a little hot and excited on what's happening here. Now we need to ensure that we can stabilize that, and that can make it to the next through the next cycle.
One of the biggest issues, certainly on the horizon, that we're going to see in golf business is this whole to-do about the golf ball and what's going to become of the way golf balls are available to consumers, to professionals. Can you help people understand a little bit of the meaning or the ramifications of what could happen if, in fact, this new golf ball standard goes into effect? How will that affect the way, the OEMs do business?
Yeah. Luckily, it's not, it's not my decision on how all of that plays out. But we obviously...
Or any of ours.
Yeah, or any of ours. But we get to think about it from an economic position and sort of how that impacts consumers and others, which is important for us to have a perspective there. But yeah, look, I think that professional golf, to first think about professional side, professional golf, they are hitting it further. They're playing golf courses that have lengthened to some degree, but probably can't lengthen to the degree that the jump has been on how far the ball is going. And so I understand the desire to create a ball that doesn't go as far for the purposes of professional. I think the side of that makes sense to me as a consumer, and that maybe makes sense to other consumers, is to me, one of the most fun golf tournaments of the year to watch in professional golf is the US Open. And why is that? Because it's brutal. It's brutal. We get to watch the best players just get beat up for 4 days. And so when we watch professional golf in that, outside of that tournament and other great tournaments that are also maybe challenging, the further they hit it, the more they're hitting flip wedges into every green. And right. I think there's an element to watching golf where it's enjoyable as a golf consumer and an amateur to watch the best players play in an environment that's challenging. And so I think there's a side of that, of the rollback, that makes sense for me as a consumer to say, if perhaps that allows me to see golf feel a little more challenging for them, and maybe they're hitting a 7-iron instead of a 9-iron. I'm not sure if that's actually the impact that will happen, but I can see that. And so I understand. I think it's potentially good for the golf viewership side and the way that we challenge these professional players, and we get to enjoy watching that challenge. I think on the consumer side, if it's bifurcation, then it's not going to impact consumers really much at all.
Right.
And
we'll be playing the same equipment, presumably.
We'll be playing the same equipment, and potentially even for OEMs, they have the ability to, let's say equipment changes, and we talk about not just bifurcation of the golf ball, that equipment that professionals play is different from equipment that we can play. Maybe that's an opportunity to sell a more enhanced, expensive driver that Scotty Scheffler hits versus what I play out of my bag. So I think there's opportunities there. Frankly, I think that maybe we even need to go in the other direction to say, are the golf clubs the conforming clubs? Like, should we start building non-conforming clubs for players to make golf more fun and easier? And there's companies and others out there doing that. I mean, Topgolf, I don't know if it was a PR stunt, but I think a year or two ago, they made a a gigantic non-conforming kind of driver head that you could go hit, and it looked kind of fun, right? And if we can make golf a little easier for some of these people. So I think what's so interesting in the golf space is everyone feels so, there's a mentality to some degree that we're all so concerned about someone else's version of golf impacting our version of golf. And I think how we think as investors is that it doesn't need to be one size fits all. We can do things for professional golf. We can do things for amateur golf. We can do things for entry point golf curious people. And they don't necessarily need to jeopardize, what's happening in other places. So look, I think there's some very smart people that are looking at all of these things and trying to figure out what's best. And they're all trying to do it. They all mean well, and they're trying to figure it out together. But yeah, I think that the economic impact won't be huge. There'll be things, but I would reframe it as where's the opportunity in all of that? If I'm a OEM, or if I'm a company that is in the club space as a startup, or I'm a ball manufacturer. I think that these companies they're marketing businesses, and they're really good at marketing to us as consumers and players. And so the more that golf can feel fun as a consumer, I think that's good. And the more that we can see great professionals compete at elite levels, I think that's good. So it's complicated, but it'll be fun to see where we net out.
All right, a little bit of a lightning round here. Why don't you run us through some of the investments that your company has made, some of the things that you believe in, the directions of golf?
Yeah, we've made dozens of investments over the last number of years, which has been a lot of fun. And we're looking for things that are real companies that can have real return for investors. And so we have to underwrite everything and make sure it's the right opportunity. But we also get to invest in, all we invest in is golf. So it's fun to participate in these things. Recent things we've done, we're investors in the Grass League, which is a emerging league in the par 3 space out of Phoenix. We think that kind of drafting off of some of the success that Tomorrow Sports and TGL has had with their version of golf, of which we're also an investor. There are great opportunities to do versions of that take, for us, this golf light category, this par 3 category under the lights. Great players, right? Elite amateurs, former professional players, kind of playing par 3 under the lights. What's cool about that business is, I think the stat I saw is something like 70% of shots that we see on television when we watch the tour are from 150 yards and in. So most of the action is happening there. And so on a par 3 course, when you're playing tournament golf on a par 3 and you're sort of viewing it as a consumer, it's really fun. It's hitting it in close. It's making long putts. It's making lots of birdies. So excited about that investment. We did Blue Jeans Golf is a driving range roll-up business that we're very bullish on. Again, in this golf light category, they're building, acquiring, and sort of up-leveling a lot of the supply that's happening there. Chip is a low-speed vehicle business that we just did an investment into. So they make an electric vehicle that sort of you could bucket into the golf cart space, but it's made more for the local driving that you're doing in
around communities.
Yeah, around communities, and kind of challenging the idea that, do we need 2 cars, or do we need a primary car to drive where we need to go, and then something that we can drive locally? And what's cool is they have a feature in that they're launching in Miami as a first market where you can do driverless. So it's actually, I get out of the car, the vehicle, and then the someone in another location is actually driving that vehicle back to my house, or to pick up groceries or do other things. And so it's taking this autonomous driving, but it's bringing it to more of like a localized level for me and my family. Really cool concept, great team on that. Or in things like Whoosh, that's a club management software that's building, the consumer layer for how they interact with tee time booking and things like that at their local club. We're TerraRad, which I mentioned in the water management space. There's so many. I mean,
you're busy, huh?
There's a lot happening there, and there's a lot of exciting companies, and we get to bring investors together and put dollars into some of these, and so it's cool. We have those investments, a lot of them come out of a private investment group that we have called the Club, which we are able to pool accredited investor dollars together and do some of those opportunities. And so we get to kind of bring great people alongside us into some of those, which is fun. But yeah, golf investing is fun, and it should be fun. And also we need to provide return. And so we're looking for real things, and we're being wise about how we deploy capital.
Let me get you out of here on this. What does golf look like in the future based upon, the business kind of forces that you've seen impact it? What does it look like?
I think golf is becoming more a part of, it's like having a cultural moment. It's gone from being this kind of elite niche thing that's played behind the walls or the bushes of a local private club, and it's become more of a part of the fabric of how people, of just what people do, and it's integrated more. It's what I said earlier about golf as an amenity. It's sitting alongside so many other things. It's where I go meet some friends to have a drink and play around on a simulator. It's the environment that I go on a golf travel trip with my family, and there's a par 3 course, and we get to go out there together and and do that. It's the local club that I play at. It's the professional side. It's I think it's integrated across a lot of things, and so I think golf is going to maintain an important position in the world. I think it's going to grow. In fact, I think it's going to grow a lot outside of the U.S. I think there's going to be more and more growth there. And yeah, I think as long as we can pay attention to the evolution of the sport, and again, what I said earlier about that doesn't mean that the traditional versions and formats and ways of playing are going to be jeopardized. It just means we need to be open to golf can be played. Sort of anybody can be a golfer if they want to be a golfer, and I think people who play golf and who experience golf, I sometimes feel bad for people who don't play golf because I think golf is so fun, right? I just think, and so we want to encourage more people to come in, but golf needs to be, it needs to be a space that is not. That doesn't feel challenging at that front door. There's still elements of it that are very intimidating, and so how do we remove that? How do we get the front door to be a place that people want to come to? How do we then introduce them to the game and give them lots of formats and versions? And if we do that, they're probably going to be a golfer the rest of their life, which is incredible, right? There's no, the tail on this is people. Like, you're a golfer until you kind of die, and that's one of very few sports and recreational spaces that you can do that. And so let's figure that out. Let's do more of that.
Sadly, there's nothing we can do about it. Matt Erley of Old Tom Capital, thanks so much for spending the time with us. We look forward to having both you and your partner, Evan Roosevelt, come back and join us again here on The Big Swing.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Hey, y'all. I'm Jake Owen here, and my big swing moment is something that I tell people a lot, is about just taking that big swing, not having fear. You have it in your heart, chasing that dream. I relate golf and life a lot together, and that sometimes you could be sitting in the middle of the fairway. You have the opportunity to knock it over the lake on the par 5 and 2. Everybody can lay up, but I've always been a guy that's just looked at the green and said, I'm going to go for it. I don't recommend dropping out of college, but I remember having it in my heart that I wanted to move to Nashville, and I called my parents and I just took that big swing, so-called little bit of a risk, moved to Nashville. But I look back on that and I think to myself, if I would have never taken that risk, I would never be here today at the American Century Championship, playing with all these guys that also took big swings and risks to get where they are. So I recommend that to anyone, and good luck out there. Follow your dreams, take that big swing.
In golf, the best players in the world rely on a great caddy, someone who knows the course, understands the conditions, and helps them choose the right shot at the right time. At Aon, that's how they work with businesses. Think of Aon as a caddy for your organization, providing better information, sharper insight and experienced advice so leaders can make better decisions in the moments that matter the most. From managing risk to supporting your people to navigating uncertainty, Aon provides clients with the clarity and confidence needed to succeed. Aon is in the business of better decisions. To learn more about how Aon can help your business, visit aon.com. One last thing. I live in New York, and I grew up around here too. So before I say what I have to say next, consider that as my attempt at full disclosure, because I know what I'm about to say is really going to thoroughly annoy a lot of people. But here goes. When it comes to golf, there's no place like the New York metropolitan area. No place. Now, before you blow a gasket and start cursing me out like you would someone who just cut you off on the Long Island Expressway, just hear me out. Let's start with the history. First golf club in America? Here. First municipal course in America? Here too. The USGA, the PGA of America, they were founded in New York. How about the Nassau bet? You know how you take money from your buddies on Saturday mornings? It was invented here. So was the mulligan. Okay, so big deal you say. That's ancient history. What does that have to do with anything in the game today? Well, more than 40 modern major championships have been played in the New York area, likely because it's such a target-rich environment. 19 courses in Golf Digest's most recent top 100 are within a stone's throw of Times Square. In fact, I don't think there's any place on earth there's more great golf in a concentrated area than what is known as the metropolitan section. Now, I know that's going to have a lot of people rolling their eyes thinking about that famous cover art from the New Yorker magazine, but it is what it is. Probably the same reason a lot of people hate the New York Yankees. Scotland is the birthplace of the game, and there is absolutely no denying what you'll find when you get there. It's an amazing experience. But I really think this place, associated in the minds of so many people with the concrete jungle, is actually the world's greatest show on turf. So there you have it. Now, let the hate begin. That's it for us today. Thanks for joining us. We're here, of course, every Tuesday on Golf Channel, then Wednesdays, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Until next week, I'm Jimmy Roberts, and this is The Big Swing.
The Big Swing with Jimmy Roberts is a production of Big Swing Media. Fred Buescher, CEO, and Jimmy Roberts, COO.